Hey everybody, welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're going to be talking about DeFi and the different protocols that can get you started on there. DeFi, as you may or may not know, is one of the big narratives within the crypto space when it comes to identifying and investing in the different use cases. Gaming being another one. But yeah, AI is another big narrative that's coming up in this bull market. But for today, for a very, very simple introduction, I wanted to show you what you could do once you'd purchased your first assets within crypto, okay? So, as always, keep a window of CoinGecko open, and defillama.com is a very, very useful website, and I will show you why in a moment. It is particularly useful in the sense that so for example, if I search for a liquid staking protocol or restaking protocol or any type of lending protocols, for example, it's going to give me the top projects within that category with the total value locked. So we know, for example, that Aave, that sits on 12 chains. Now chains, we know that that's layer 1s or layer 2s. This is Ethereum, Arbitrum, Polygon, etc, etc. So Aave sits on 12 chains. It's got total value locked of $11 billion. And as you scroll down the list, you can see that Margin Lend, which is launched on Solana recently, has got $400 million. Zero Lend, which is also making strong headways, being a forked version of Aave, is also gaining a lot of traction. But as you can see, defillama immediately gives you an overview of the different types of protocols that are out there and the usage and the traction that they're getting. Okay, so if we hit on search here, we remove the search, we can look at the different categories, right? So you can do lending, you can look at the bridges which we covered in the previous section. We can have a look at dexes, for example, and we can see that Uniswap is your top dex on 17 chains with 5.82 billion total value locked. In the last 7 days, it's generated $20 million worth of fees. So if you want to enter a liquidity pool there, that might be a good idea. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, when you interact with a protocol, if you're not sure of its legitimacy, if you want to know whether you're using a good, trusted protocol, I would come to, especially in the DeFi area, I would come to defillama and understand the size of the protocol that you are dealing with, right? For example, a protocol that I interacted with at the very, very beginning was called DakiSwap. I was effectively there when it first started, and you can see that it only covered 1.15 million of total value locked. So still it's legitimate. It's not, there's nothing shady about it, but it doesn't have the traction that some of the other protocols might have. So I want to look at an example today of what you can do with lending protocols, right? In particular, we're going to focus about lending. And I've opened here just on top a few interfaces. So I'm going to navigate over to Aave, and you can see it's app.aave.com, and effectively you can see here on the market side, I am able to supply different sets of tokens as collateral, right? So if I go to my dashboard here, I can supply Ethereum or Arbitrum, and then I can borrow against it. Okay, so let's say for the sake of this example, I've got 4 Arbitrum that I've got, and I can deposit that whilst earning a very, very modest 0.06% interest. Once I've deposited that, I can borrow against my Arbitrum. Okay, again, let's take a look at Davos, which is another protocol. If I hover over this, I can provide different types of collateral. So Renzo staked ETH, Ether.fi, Anchor ETH. You can provide different. You can even provide ST Matic, which is Liquid Lido staked Matic. So you can provide collateral, and with that you're able to mint their backed up version of, or their pegged version of a US dollar, which is called a DUSD. Okay, Zero Lend is much of a muchness. Zero Lend, the only reason why I would get involved in it now is because it's still in its infancy. It's still in phase one of the airdrop stages that it's gonna do. And here you can pretty much see the same thing, right? If I go to my dashboard and connect my wallet, I will do an example, but I just wanted to show you the idea here. Okay, so here you can supply, let's have a look on what chain. So here you can supply on Ethereum LRTs, Linea, Blast, Ziki, Zinc, or Manta, and you can supply ETH, WETH, etc., RSETH, all the liquid staking versions of ETH, or you can supply stable coins as well. Okay, and again, you can borrow against this, right? Layer Bank, it's much of a muchness. You effectively supply collateral and you borrow assets, the same as margin Fi. So what's the idea here? The idea is that you've got to be, you are supplying some assets and then borrowing against your assets. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to supply 4.5 ARB. Okay, I need to be on the right network for that, so thank you MetaMask. Arbitrum 1. Okay, I'm going to supply 4.5 ARB. Okay, and again, it's doing this thing that I always highlight, where it's going to an impossible number that none of us have in our wallets. So I'm just going to go to the max, which is what's maximum that's available in my wallet, and I'm going to approve the ARB and supply the ARB. Okay, so that's going to charge me a minimal fee for the transaction, and okay, done. So I've supplied 4.5 Arbitrum, which at this point in time is the equivalent of $5.31. Okay, now I can borrow some assets, right? I can hit borrow here, and I can borrow on a number of assets. Okay, my personal strategy, what I like to do is I borrow stables, right? I would borrow, and again, you can see here, you can only borrow up to I believe it is 50% or 60% of the amount. So I've deposited, let's have a look again, I've deposited $5.31 worth of Arbitrum, and I can borrow a maximum of 2.63. Okay, now I don't want to borrow the maximum, because what that means is that the minute that Arbitrum drops in price, I will get liquidated, or I will be at risk of liquidation, and there are people who will be liquidating your setup because you can no longer pay the debt. Okay, so what I'm going to do, instead of having a risk factor of 1.21, which you can see is in orange here, I mean, if I went to I don't think it even lets me type in 5. No, the maximum it lets me is do that, but I'm just going to type in $1. Okay, I'm going to borrow $1, and in that case it's going to put my health factor at 3.18. Liquidation will happen at less than 0. Okay, so I'm going to borrow some USDT, and now you will see in my liabilities I'll have $1 USDT. Okay, so I'm going to hit close, and now you can see I've supplied 4.5 ARB. I've borrowed $1. If you imagine this, for the sake of this example, I don't want to put huge funds or significant funds into this, because I just want to show you the concept of what you can do. Okay, I realize that it doesn't make sense with the gas fees, but I think conceptually this is what I'd like to bring across. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to a DEX, and as you know, like in previous examples, I've used PancakeSwap, so I'm gonna use PancakeSwap, on the BNB chain. That's the wrong one. I need it on Arbitrum 1. Okay, and I'm going to connect my wallet. All right. And now I'm going to swap some assets. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap that 1 USDT that I've got, and I'm going to swap it for Ethereum. Okay, it's going to give me a negligible amount of Ethereum. Don't worry about it. Imagine you borrowed 100 USD and you've then supplied $100 worth of Ethereum. Okay, I'm going to hit swap here and confirm the swap. Again, I'm going to hit max here. Just get into the habit of doing that. And I'm going to hit approve. Okay, next, sign. It's confirming my swap. Hallelujah, we're done. So let's go back to the lending page. Okay, so now let's switch back here. Sorry, I was on Aave, my bad. So now let's go back here and let's actually supply our ETH that we have. Ooh, I've got more ETH than I wanted to. In fact, let's supply the $1 worth of ETH that I had. Okay, let's go for that just to be safe. So now what I've done is I'm going to supply that ETH, and I'm gonna, so ignore the fact that I'm doing this again on minimal amounts of assets. I'm just showing it to you conceptually. This makes sense once you start doing $100, $200, $1,000, right? Because then the gas fees really become irrelevant. Right now, the way I'm doing this, it doesn't make sense because the gas fees are quite high. Okay, so what's gonna happen is, the idea here is that I've supplied some ARB against which I've borrowed some USDT. With that USDT, I bought some Ethereum, and I am hoping that the price of Ethereum goes up such that I can sell enough Ethereum to repay my loan and keep the rest of the Ethereum for myself as a gain. Again, I have deposited Arbitrum, I have borrowed some USDT, and with that USDT I have bought some Ethereum, and I'm hoping that if the price of Ethereum, 2x's, if you imagine this, if you will, with more volume, I will get more money here than what I borrowed in terms of my stables. So I can sell a fraction of this and repay my USDT loan, which grows at an APY of 10%. So the risk that you do take risk. The first risk you take is whether Arbitrum dumps, right? At the moment, you have supplied 4.50 Arbitrum, which is $5.30. If Arbitrum were to drop significantly because of a black swan event, and it would half in price, my loan would be at risk, right? I couldn't repay. I would be outside of the remit of my loan, of what's acceptable risk in my loan. If we can click here, and you can see right now I'm at 4.03, which isn't great. It isn't great. But my liquidation rate value is 1. Okay? So this is important that you get yourself, if you decide to go this route, which I think is a very worthy route. I wouldn't yet. So one thing that I forgot to explain is that a lot of people get into these infinite loops of supplying, borrowing, resupplying that, borrowing, resupplying that, borrowing, and they get into this cycle. And in fact, Layer Bank by default gives you that infinite. It's not an infinite loop, obviously. but it gives you that loop that as a beginner I wouldn't recommend. What I would recommend is that you supply some of your assets that you've got sat idly by, whether it's Ethereum. So let's say you've got 100 Ethereum, and you borrow 20 USDT against that. So then your borrow ratio is is fine. It's absolutely fine. And with that, you buy another token that you think will appreciate. Okay. And then when that token appreciates, you decide, okay, I'm gonna sell this token. I'm gonna withdraw this. I'm gonna sell this token. I'm gonna pay back my debt, and I'm gonna have my original collateral that's been earning 2.11 APY. This is very simple. Please be aware that a large number of these protocols, for example, I know Davos protocol had issues because people were taking loans out against Matic, and I think it was at some point when some SEC decision came in that Matic went from 120 to 60 cents, and therefore a lot of people got liquidated because they weren't aware of the liquidation mechanism and their supply to borrow ratio. So always keep an eye on the prices. I would recommend, at the moment, BTC is king. This is wrap BTC. I don't think that you can supply wrap BTC, but I would supply an asset with as least volatility as possible. I believe on ZeroLend, let me have a look on here, whether on Linea you can supply USDT, right? So you can supply a stable asset that will not fluctuate in price. And that means you don't have to, obviously USDT can depeg naturally, but the point being that you're not as exposed to the risk when you are borrowing against your ETH, because ETH can very easily fluctuate. Maybe not so much now, hopefully, but think like, if you let people, for example, borrow against their bonk, that would be an insane strategy, right? Because bonk, or any meme coin for that matter, can go up and down and all around, and it would be a very, very, very unsuitable asset to implement the strategy. So just to go over it again as a summary, visit defillama, the link will be in the description, and then navigate through the types of protocols that you want to interact with, what you're interested in, whether it's oracles, forks, bridges, etc. And this will tell you the total value locked, how active, on what chains that protocol is on. It's fantastic. It is a fantastic website. CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko, defillama, they are absolute musts when it comes to getting started in the ecosystem to understand what you're looking at. And then finally, you can navigate to Aave, Davos, ZeroLend, Layerbank, MarginFi. The list is endless of these protocols. The reason why you may want to enter one and not the other is because they might be offering some special kind of rewards. So ZeroLend is right now offering some initial airdrop rewards, so it's driving a lot of traffic. MarginFi, Layerbank are doing much of a muchness. After that, it's I would go where the money is, where the big money is, because that's stable and more proven in my book. Yep, that's about it. If you've got any questions, drop them in the description. Not the description, the comments section. If you've got any requests for future videos, let me know, and I will do my best to help you. Thanks, bye.